If you pray hard enough and it does something, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's prayer. It's not magic.
Welcome, Realm Walkers. My name is Carlin. I'm going to be your host tonight. I'm joined by my fellow hosts, Greg.
Yo, hello.
And Bryce.
How's it going?
Guys, how are you doing today?
Existing. Just got a bunch of schoolwork done, so that's life. That's good.
Fair enough, Bryce. How's life been for you?
It's been all right. I was putting together some Space Marines earlier, so
yeah, because on top of
good.
being a filthy Stormcast player, he's a sweaty Space Marine player too.
He's a Sigmarine.
Now, of course, I also play Space Marines, so I'm not excluding myself from that. We're both trash.
Yeah.
We're not here to talk about 40k.
Yeah, we'll move past that.
Hey, look. By the way, chalk that up another episode for Greg swore in the first minute bingo.
Oh, jeez. Why you gotta do this?
It's fine. We just cut it. Well, I just cut the one
I've been able to surgically cut out your swearing, so,
Yeah.
And for anyone listening, if you didn't hear any swearing, we did our job successfully. If you did hear swearing, cool. Then unfortunately we weren't able to fix the tumor that is Greg.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, that's actually an accurate description of what I am. If only I could be a tumor. Big, lumpy, just existing.
Hey, we can get past this now.
All right.
Well, today, for everyone who's listening to us for our banter and actually for our content, we are going to be covering the Blades of Khorne. I believe that's what the Battletomb called. Battletomb.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we kind of want to tie it into the books that we're covering into Realmgate Wars. So we're covering the first two books, which is basically Stormcast versus Khorne. So figure we cover Khorne.
Yep.
And by the time we're done the Realmgate Wars, who knows? Maybe Stormcast will have 10 more Battletomes, and then we can cover one of them.
What are you talking about? Their Battletome's almost 3 years old at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're not Space Marines. They're like, they get their one, and they're like, all right, you're the poster boys for the game we don't care about.
Oof. They care about Age of Sigmar.
That's true. They just released that whole Slanesh line. They just don't push it as hard, and it makes me sad because it's genuinely fun.
It's 40k makes them a little bit more money, but Sigmar is not all that far behind it anymore. So
it needs the time to establish itself,
which it's done beautifully. Like I think off kind of some stuff I was reading, AOS is like 35 to 40% of their overall sales when it comes to the big kind of overall titles, and then 40k is the rest of that. Yeah. Now that's including Underworlds and all that under the AOS line, but still, which is impressive nonetheless.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Anyways, yeah, we're talking about Khorne, and I kind of want to open up with this blurb I saw that kind of really put it way how Khorne works into perspective. So, mighty embodiments of the darkest mortal emotions and compulsions, the chaos gods reside out of reality. They are internal beings of near limited power, abominations who seek to corrupt all they survey, constantly warring with each other. These deities vie for mastery over the mortal realms. In these conflicts, there is one who often stands ascendant, and that is Khorne. Khorne is the Lord of Rage, the Taker of Skulls. He is Wrath incarnate, Master of Slaughter, and the embodiment of never-ending compulsion to destroy.
I mean, that sounds really cool, but hasn't Tzeentch literally won? He literally won the game before. I feel like Khorne doesn't actually stand at the top.
Tzeentch thinks he wins because he's always alternating a plan, and if things go horribly wrong, it's part of his plan because he has every contingency thought out.
With that said, it probably is not great for the Khorne thing if we immediately go, hey, didn't Khorne get his chump ass beat? No, but for real though, we all love Skull Daddy.
Blood for the blood god, skull for the skull thrones.
All right. You're handling the opening, Carlin. Then I am handling demons. Then we're passing off to Bryce with the mortals.
And that's
Oh,
when we can
yeah.
all take a nap.
Yeah, all right.
Hey,
Good.
there's some cool mortals.
We're kidding. So yeah, as mentioned, Khorne is basically the god of all things anger, blood, skulls, and horrible murder and cannibalism. He's
Baby eating
often
time.
I knew that was going to be mentioned.
Yeah, just get out your bowl of baby pops and we're good to go.
Jesus.
Big, large fountain pop of blood cola.
Khorne is depicted in many ways. Sometimes he's depicted as a towering warrior, clad in like plated brass armor. And other times he's depicted as like this snarling, fanged warhound, which kind of makes sense because if you kind of look at his poster boy Corgus Call, big, powerful warrior, or that bloodthirsty, weird dog thing with frills. And yeah, the big thing about Khorne and the reason why he's so powerful is that, consciously or not, all warriors pay tithes to Khorne when blood is spilt. Every time a life is taken in anger, Khorne grows in power. And this is why he's so ridiculously powerful. When Stormcasts are killing Khorne guys because they're trying, to take the realm gate, guess what? Khorne cares not where the blood flows, as long as it flows. Bryce, how does it make you feel knowing that your Stormcasts are secretly making Khorne more powerful?
See, like, here's the thing. Yes, Stormcast do make Khorne more powerful by beating the shit out of his followers. But the thing is they're beating the shit out of his followers. So if they're constantly beating the shit out of them and they're constantly winning battles against these dudes, then, it's a net positive for the Stormcast because they're offsetting the amount of power that they're giving to them.
But Khorne himself is maybe growing in power, therefore he can spread his influence elsewhere.
Well, I mean, yes, but he doesn't.
He
His
punched
legions
the
of
city
demons.
out of the sky.
That's true.
Yeah, he punched out of the sky, but like at least Sigmar actually went and fought in the realms.
But also, like, remember that Khorne himself might not be getting off the realm, but every time he gets stronger, he gets more demons because those are just extensions of him.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just remember, every time you play a game of Age of Sigmar, you're giving a mad thumbs up to Khorne. He gets a little piece of that. And when the sweaty neckbeard rages because he lost, that's Khorne right there.
Oh boy. There's another little blurb I want to read here, which kind of puts a little aspect of what Khorne's desires are. It is Khorne's desire to drown the 8 realms in a tide of slaughter. Relentlessly, the Blood God sends forth his demon legions and mortal hordes to conquer and kill, not resting until there's nothing left but pooling gore and shattered bone. The skull tributes are stacked high before the armies march off to find new quarry. Like, literally, we cannot emphasize this enough. He likes to kill things. He likes the things to be slaughtered in miserable, horrible ways. There's no such thing as overkill of Khorne.
Well, I think something might be important to note is to say he likes to kill things might be a kind of a misstatement. He is the act of killing things. The act
You're
of
not wrong.
slaughter and murder, that is just Khorne made manifest.
You're not wrong. Yeah, and yeah, it's crazy, and especially when we take a look at his realm. So, like, the Chaos, they have essentially their own realm, which is divided up between each of their own territories, which essentially is always growing and shrinking depending on the power of the specific gods at that time. But yeah, it's actually referred to as the Great Game. And there's actually another player, but I'm going to quickly look over here. The Dark Gods of Chaos each have their own particular sphere of influence, their own demonic and mortal servants, and their own territories. The realm of chaos is not merely the home of the Dark Gods. It is also their internal battlefield, where they are rivals in an endless battle for supremacy, known as the Great Game. While fighting for power, bonds are formed and unbroken as Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch vie for domination of not only the realm of chaos, but also the mortal realms. Even Depation's newcomer, the Great Horned Rat, attempts to sneak into the feud. One of the Dark Gods is missing, and many, including Khorne, do not know the fate of Slaanesh, the Dark Prince.
I mean, this battle tome was written a while ago. He's back. He's vibing.
Spoilers for anyone who's not paying attention to current lore. But yeah, so that kind of gives you an idea. Like the realms themselves are basically in a tug of war all the time. Whether it's the mortal realms or the chaos realms, they're always battling it out for absolute control. To them, it's a game. Like think Game of Thrones, except instead of a whole bunch of different kingdoms, it's 4 gods going at it. But yeah, Khorne's domain in the realm of chaos is one built on violence. The landscape is blood-soaked, literally littered with bones. There is battles happening everywhere. Those who die bravely are resurrected to keep fighting. Those who are seen as weak disappear forever. Surrounding the border of the realm are volcanoes. There are forges attached to many of these to forge new demon blades and armor for those who are seen as worthy. So people like Gorgas Call or any of the other great heroes to Khorne, they get specialized armor forged in these volcanoes. In this realm, there's the Brass Citadel. This is Khorne's fortress. This is so huge that it can be seen all through Khorne's realm. Hung from the walls of the Citadel are champions who fell in Khorne's fighting pits. And I feel sorry for these guys because they are skinned and hung with their blood pouring initially, then continually dripping into Khorne's blood moats, which are boiling constantly. Think like boiling hot magma almost, except it's all blood and gore and various other things. Inside the walls of Khorne's fortress are the Fields of Damnation. This is where bloodthirsters contest each other to set the demon hierarchy. Basically, see who's on top and see who rules what in the demon hierarchy of everything under Khorne. And then inside the Great Chamber is a mountain of skulls that is constantly growing as Khorne's followers pay ties to him. On top of this mountain of skulls is Khorne's throne. So, his throne is constantly rising up all the time as he gets more and more skulls. Does he lift up his chair so they can toss his skulls on top, or they find a way to shove the skulls underneath so it keeps on going up?
I assume he just has a bunch of people, and every so often he's like, lift my chair higher, put the skulls under.
You peasant, lift my chair.
Show me your might. Lift my recliner for me.
And yeah, so it kind of gives you an idea of like Khorne and his realm. And then I kind of really want to play the game of what does Khorne hate? So we're going to go first. So contestant number 1, Greg. What does Khorne hate?
He hates a lot of things. One could say he hates almost everything that isn't fighting. He specifically hates anybody who shows cowardice in combat, weakness, and of course, good old-fashioned magic. He does not like magic.
Good answer. Bryce, what do you have to say? What does Khorne hate?
I mean, I feel like Greg kind of stole my answer with, giving 2 to 1 question. I don't think that's how this game works, Greg.
That's fine. I stole the points. You lose.
No.
That is the Chaos God way. Greg wins. Bryce gets vanished into the aether. Greg, you get to fight again. Yes.
Khorne's proud. My reward is skulls.
It is true. But yeah, Khorne basically hates everything. He is the god of hatred in many, many ways. So he hates the weak. We've already seen that where the weakest disappear. He hates... Well, let's get back to the Chaos Gods for a second. Because you think Khorne hates all his enemies. It's not exactly true. So Khorne finds the Great Horned Rat to be honorless and weak. In the end, not worthy of his time. Sure, he hates him, but not something he's going to go blood raging about. He finds Nurgle to be foolishly sentimental. Once again, not really something to worry about. Tzeentch he has an issue with, but he finds Tzeentch's reliance on sorcery basically nothing more than cowardice, which he hates, but sure. But it is the Dark Prince, the missing Dark Prince, still current storyline, is the thing that makes Khorne the angriest. It draws his anger, his ire, everything. Slaanesh represents all that Khorne despises. Basically, the decadence is at odds with the Blood God's martial pride. The way how Slaanesh saw about fetishes and such clashes with Khorne's single-minded desire for indiscriminate slaughter. And Slaanesh basically found Khorne dull. Slaanesh was basically the youngest child who liked to poke at the oldest brother and go, "Is this annoying you? Is this annoying you?" Because he'd do everything he could to anger the Blood God. And basically, now for the storyline at this point in time when Battletomb was written, with Slaanesh being gone, Khorne was basically ruling over everything as much as he can, basically becoming one of the more powerful of the Chaos God Pantheon. But all he wanted to do was find Slaanesh and destroy Slaanesh because Slaanesh pissed him off.
It's the principle of the thing, truly.
Mm-hmm. But let's continue to things that Khorne hates. Because you were right. Magic is something else that he hates. Khorne hates all things magic. He despises it. He thinks magic is cowardice because fights should be fought with brute muscle, not just whispering your hands around. And because of that, like, he hates, well, Tzeentch, of course, but then he also hates Sylvaneth because Sylvaneth had them very magical blades. He hates Seraphon because Seraphon are living magic unless they coalesce. But generally speaking, they're living magic, therefore they don't bleed. And when they die, they just get drawn back in this land's power. If they're coalesced, sure, they draw blood. But generally speaking, those are smaller tribes and everything. And doesn't get to fight them too often. But continuing the magic theme, there is a certain person who really pisses him off. Our homeboy, Nagash.
Imagine that, Nagash pissing somebody off.
Really, yeah. Nagash loves to be everyone's friend. He never piss anyone off.
I feel like Nagash should start a list of people he hasn't pissed off. And it's just himself.
Well, Nagash is all about magic, which Khorne views as absolute cowardice, so he hates him. But what makes him angry even more is that Nagash and his followers don't bleed. They, like, when they kill them, they're being held together by magic, meaning ender skeletons or whatever. They don't bleed.
I hadn't considered that.
When he sends his followers and everything, the blood legions, to fight Nagash, they're killing the things, but they don't rank Khorne power when they die because they don't bleed really. And in the end, a lot of them probably disappear into ash or whatever, or they get back up or anything. So really, even taking their skulls doesn't really matter much. All it's done is make Khorne angrier and angrier.
Yeah, someone should do something about Nagash.
Yeah.
And then continuing on the things that Nagash did, we got to the Necroquake, when Nagash unleashes grand schemes and things that we're going to cover a little in a later time. Grand schemes that went wrong because of Greg's favorite homeboys.
Yeah, they saved the universe. That's proof the Skaven are the good guys.
But yeah, that unleashed living magic. And as we know, Khorne hates magic. So when he saw these living endless spells roaming around, he just got angry. Because in the end, if they were destroyed and such, they dissipate. They don't bleed, they're not living, they don't have skulls. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it just makes him angry. So a lot of Khorne's followers, the priest and such, he blessed him in ways to help take out magic users more after Necroquake, because he wanted to stop the endless spells from rising up, because just it made him so angry. And so on. And more or less, the followers would start praying and using that to mitigate magic users. They would also use it as a way to cut out wild endless spells that they found roaming around. And then they found something else. So a little shakeup. When they start praying, they could start invoking judgments of Khorne. And these judgments became, in a sense, quote unquote, endless spells, except, they're prayer based, not magic based. These were prayers come forth from blood, from invoking Khorne's magical or not magical, bloody energies.
Hmm,
And
Mm.
they would start roaming around and serving the blood god's purposes. They would go about destroying endless spells. They would go about destroying magic users' ability to cast, and they would just enrage those around it, cause people to start inflicting violence on each other. And heck, if it's just Khorne's followers that start fighting each other, Khorne cares not where blood flows.
I imagine like very strongly like Khorne, like a Khorne army and like a Tzeentch army are fighting, and the endless spells come out, and Tzeentch just kind of looks at Khorne like, "So what are those?" And he just goes, prayer," and sweats. Like
Totally not magic, dude.
it's not magic. It says endless, not magic. Don't look at the Don't look at the codex. It's
Shut
lying
your
to you.
chicken mouth.
Endless prayers.
But yeah, that kind of gives you an idea of Khorne. Like, he is rage manifested. He is everything violence. His bloodthirst is never satiated. He just wants more and more and more violence, and it never ends. And there are some people who just love the idea of everything Khorne because he's just, I won't say mindless, but very driven and in a lot of ways simple. He wants blood to flow, and he wants skull for his skull throne. If you do those things, he's happy. Ish.
Well, I think something to remember, and it's brought up actually quite a bit in the later
100%.
sections. Khorne is not mindless. He's incredibly intelligent in what he wants to do. He has a simple goal, which is to have blood flow, but he is an absolute military genius.
Oh,
And
100%.
to think that he is stupid or ignorant is the fastest way to get yourself killed on a battlefield with Khorne.
See, can I have a rebuttal? Like, Khorne is my favorite chaos god, but like, if he was truly a tactical genius, he would just like do his sky punch thing to everything.
Yeah, but if he does that, then there's very little blood flow. Like, it's not much of
I
a fight if
mean-
he just it's not much of a fight if he just stomps everything.
Have you ever stomped on like a Capri Sun packet?
Yeah, but it's about the fight, Bryce. It's not about the outcome all the time. It's
I
about
know.
the fight.
Khorne does have a sense of honor, as much as it gets skewed sometimes, but he does have a semblance of honor. If there's a battle going on, he wants a proper battle.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I still think he should sky punch more stuff though.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I thought the sky punch was really cool, and I just want to see more of that.
Awesome. Well, hey, Greg, since you're chatting anyways, how about we turn to you? Tell us about his demons.
All right, so I will be handling demons.
Demons.
Let me read you. I've got quite a few sections from the book that I'm going to be reading verbatim here. There is just some fantastic descriptions of the absolute horror that is the hordes of Khorne. So I'll start off with this little one. The winds blow hot, brazen horns blare, and the coppery smell of blood fills the air. Reality itself screams as a hole is torn in its fabric, blood pouring from its ragged edges. Out from this nightmarish portal march the blood legions, red-skinned horrors that bound towards the foe, a murderous grin in their merciless eyes. They move in the shadows of fell banners that ripple with red-hot hate. Their sole purpose for existing is to slaughter. So obviously, Khorne's demons, not a person you'd want to be in a fight with. Though arguably, probably something you might want to fight with over some of the other things, some of the other armies. So I want to get a few notes out of the way here. So first, I'm going to be saying blood a lot and skull a lot, and I might mess up specifically a title. If I do so, I apologize. It's very easy to tongue slip blood letter when you're saying bloodthirster.
Bled.
All right. So I'm going to also be omitting a little bit of some details here. I will be discussing the structure of Khorne's legions later. However, the book goes in details of the structure of Khorne's army on both the micro and the macro scale. However, it's pretty much all structured the same way, in which it is like 8 companies of 8 things, or broken up into intervals of 8. And it was a little bit redundant and not particularly interesting, so I will just be omitting some of that. All of it's in the codex if you want to look at the exact structure of Khorne's army.
Battletome.
The Battletome,
Ew,
yeah.
codex. Ugh.
Ew. Sorry.
It's all good.
40K
I mean, it
filth.
actually might be in the 40K Codex. I don't know. I don't think
Probably is.
It might be. It's Chaos Undivided. So this one goes more in depth.
Mhm.
All right. So the first thing I want to get out of the way is Khorne's sacred number is 8. It is very important to understanding basically all of how Khorne's armies are formed. There is no specific record as to why Khorne's number is 8, but the book gives 2 very specific examples and theories as to what it might be. The first is that at the birth of Khorne, 8 mighty gods were slain by him at his birth, and the very foundation of the Skull Throne are these 8 deities' skulls. The other one is that it will take 8 great ages of war to sate the gods' bloodlust. Now, considering all that Khorne is, I find the second to be very unlikely, so if you want my personal opinion, it's probably the first. So, moving into a little bit of the structure of how Khorne's army is functioned. Each demon in Khorne's army, the single most important thing to them is strength. They are always battling for supremacy, sometimes among themselves, but a lot of the time they do so by outperforming each other on the battlefield of combat. Those who do particularly well can rise above their station if they've proven to Khorne that they are a demon worth their salt. But those who draw Khorne's ire through cowardice, through wielding magic, will potentially have their power taken away, or if they have angered the god enough, he will literally snap them and their essence will come apart. At the top of demons, at the top of the pecking order in Khorne's army are the Bloodthirster. These are his greater demons, and they are described as literally demigods of war. At the very bottom, we have the Bloodletters. These are the basic troop.
Battle line, essentially.
The battle lines, yeah.
Mhm.
And then there's a whole legion of things that sit between them that they use, and I will go into details below that. So the legion structure is at full strength. Each blood legion is formed of 8 cohorts, and each cohort is composed of 8 packs of demons led by Herald or a mighty bloodthirster, or even a mighty bloodthirster of the 8th or higher rank. There are 8 ranks of bloodthirsters, which we'll be going over later as well. On campaign, the demons will potentially decrease if they take a lot of casualties. However, they will sometimes gain more, either through slaughtering other legions and just allowing them in, or gathering slaves. So that number is in flux a little bit. For the most part, however, a blood legion is formed of 8 cohorts and 8 packs of demons per cohort. So it's important to note at this point that the legion and the cohort, as we were saying earlier, are not composed of simply blind raging demons. This structure is very important because it is a very militaristic structure. These cohorts that are formed of demons each have a very specific purpose and have a very specific set of demons within them. Going over a few, we have what is known as a murder shot cohort, which is designed to break enemy formations. The Fleshhound Ravager cohorts are designed to run down foes who flee in battle. Skull Seeker cohorts are designed to hunt down tributes for Khorne. Bloodhunt cohorts are made up of Bloodthirsters and Fleshhounds, and they are sent to track down specific quarries. Gore Thunder cohorts are formed of formations of Khorne's blood cannons. Blood host cohorts center around a bloodthirster and usually contain multiple greater demons. This is basically the hammer blow. Like when we need to get into a place, you just send all of the biggest, scariest you guys you have, and the blood horse bursts down the door and kills everyone. And then we have the Blood Thunder Stampede cohort, which is composed of blood crushers. And I want to give also one specific legion that you will likely know from the tabletop, which is known as the Charnel Host. The Charnel Host is the most common legion of Khorne's armies. It is a primary body of the Red Tide and is most commonly the vanguard of Khorne's invasions.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this was one of this legion was specifically the legion that was at the Battle of the Burning Skies. So it's pretty much like when Khorne needs to just send somebody in and he's just like, I gotta get the most amount of bodies, he sends in the Charnel Host. A few other ones that are listed are the Legion of the Reapers of Vengeance, This is a particularly notorious legion among mortals. It is led by the bloodthirster Khorne. It rose during the largest of Khorne's expansions into the Skull Land, and it is known that Khorne reaped terrible vengeance upon a keep of secrets, and he bested several of the Blood God's favorites, which is why he's so well known during this time. The Reapers of Vengeance are sent to go after those who draw the Blood God's ire. So if you piss Khorne off, you're probably going to be getting a knock at the door from the Reapers of Vengeance. Amongst other things, because wow, I'm going to say it right now. Khorne has a lot of people that he sends if you piss him off. This is just one. Specifically, it mentioned that Khorne doesn't care if you beat him in a fair battle. You beat him in a fair battle, he's going to be mad that he lost, but that's fine. If you win with trickery and magic, he does not forget that. He will remember that, and then he sends the Reapers of Vengeance after you. Oh, and I have a note. I made a small mistake. The Charnel host wasn't at the Battle of the Burning Skies. It was the Reapers of Vengeance. They might have both been there, but it was specifically the Reapers of Vengeance that were mentioned.
Fucker!
Oh, yeah. The last legion mentioned is the Blood Horde Legion. This specifically came into the into infamy in Gur, where they just decided we're going to go fight the orcs, the Uruk, I guess, in Age of Sigmar. And they slaughtered 12 Uruk tribes that were all participating in a WoG. And then they just decided, wow, Gur's awesome. Look at the giant monsters here to fight and kill. So the Blood Horde Legion has been just remaining in Gur, hunting after the biggest monsters they can to provide the biggest skulls to Khorne. And it specifically mentions that they're some of Khorne's favorites. So if the Blood Horde Legion sends something to Khorne, right on the refrigerator. Magnet up there. That one he's proud of. And so I want to go a little bit more into the demons in detail now. Going down the list. The first we have Bloodthirsters. Bloodthirsters are the mighty warriors of Khorne's demon legions. They are his generals and his personal guard. Each one a primal manifestation of war that exists only to maim, slaughter, and destroy. To see one enter battle is to witness sheer, unfettered ruination. It does then go into the tale of a very specific bloodthirster, Skarbrand the Exiled.
Yeah.
Skarbrand was one of Khorne's most favorite bloodthirsters. He was, in fact, the most favorite at one point. He specifically went, I'm going to go attack Slaaneash's palace. And it is said that he basically tore down the doors and drowned everything in a tide of blood. In a 2-on-1, he was able to take down 2 other bloodthirsters. And he was basically called the right hand of ruin. Khorne was just, like, every day Khorne saw Skarbrand, he was like, today's going to be a little better. However, the problem was Skarbrand became prideful. And Khorne doesn't like prideful. But of course, he was fine with it so long as Skarbrand was killing people for him. And Tzeentch decided, I bet I can work with this. So very subtly, Tzeentch started whispering into Skarbrand's ears and saying, oh, you're so strong. Khorne just sits on his throne all day. You could take him. Skarbrand's like, yeah, I could. And of course, that was a dumb thing to think. And so Skarbrand decided, I'm going to try to take down Khorne. Does he challenge Khorne to a fair fight? Something the Blood God probably would have been fine with? No. Skarbrand waits until Khorne's back is turned, and he strikes. He strikes Khorne in the back like a coward, and he nicked the god's armor. That's it. And of course, Khorne turned around and was none too pleased, and he literally grabbed Skarbrand, choked thought and reason out of him, left him just this vessel of his pure rage, then yeeted him across all creation. And he has been exiled since then from the realm of chaos, from which he has just been on this eternal blood path of just fury and rage.
I just want to say, bing, Nick Armor. Khorne looks at it, looks at Skarbrand. Fucker!
Like, the fact that he went for the back, that's the big problem here. Because, of course, if you're going to challenge Khorne, he's going to kick your ass. But, there's respect to be had in honorably challenging an opponent. There is no respect to be had to be the right hand of your god, who's specifically about strength and fucking striking him in the back. There was no forgiveness. And so yeah, Scarbrand not exactly a favorite of the Blood God anymore.
It's his fault.
Yeah.
True.
It is. So up next we have the Heralds of Khorne. Even amongst the brutal bloodletters of Khorne's legion, there are those who excel in the art of slaughter, going beyond their peers. These frenzied and unstoppable killers have earned special favor in the eyes of the Blood God through deeds of unimaginable carnage, known as his heralds. Death follows wherever these champions go. So the Heralds of Khorne are bloodletters that have basically proven themselves on the field of battle, and they excel so well in the act of slaughter that Khorne has specifically raised them above the rank of bloodletter. Depending on how they achieved this rank, they are given special titles, and then they have specific duties based on that. So the ones we have listed, so there are 2 listed titles and a third special person we get to talk about. So the first of the heralds are known as Bloodmasters. These are bloodletters that have gained notoriety through specifically particular brutality and an act for slaughter. They are not particularly any more intelligent than a bloodletter, but Khorne has given them an extra sliver of his rage. They are more fueled, and they are more hate-filled, and they are more rageful, and they live specifically to slaughter. They don't lead by virtue of military tactics. They lead through example. When the bloodletters hit the field, the bloodmasters are usually ahead of them, slaughtering and fighting and showing the bloodletters this is how you do it. The other group are known as the skullmasters. These specialize specifically in demonic cavalry. So they are basically a bloodletter that has been given what was it called? I forgot. The blood crushers, which we'll look into a little bit more later. They specifically relish the thunder of hooves and the crunching of bones, and the pairing of a herald and a juggernaut is a powerful force of destruction. You either fall to the blade of the skullmaster, or you fall under the hooves of the juggernaut. Now we have one more herald.
All I got up there for a second is, I'm the juggernaut, bitch.
Pretty much. Except honestly, probably a little more scary and not so funny.
It's true.
So there's one more herald that we get to talk about, and that is Skulltaker. There's only one herald that bears the title of Skulltaker. And he is known for that because he alone has collected countless trophies for the Blood God. He is known as Khorne's eternal champion. He specifically goes and seeks out only the mightiest of champions. He will stride up to the front of a fortress's gate, knock on the door, and demand single combat with their greatest warriors. Those who accept his challenge are even shown a quick show of respect for taking the field, as he will upturn his blade. But that is only a moment before Skulltaker lunges forward to attack his quarry. He is a duelist absolutely without equal. He can immediately identify any foe's weakness in a second. Aeons of battling has allowed him to have this precise and exact knowledge of combat with a single foe. However, he does not slay his foes outright. He aims for the limbs and he aims for the eyes, seeking to blind and render them helpless. Because once he has them in this helpless state, he will wrap his hands around them. Eldritch flames peeling the flesh and bone, leaving it bleached and white. A perfect sacrifice for Khorne. There is, and after which he'll just leave. If you respect him and you battle him, he will leave. He doesn't come to take down your fortresses. Now, he is known to take the battlefield with armies, but nobody really knows what draws Skulltaker to a battle. Sometimes it might be a specific quarry. Perhaps he just happens to be in the area, but he can't really be controlled. He is a solo unit that will sometimes partake in great battles. It is said that Skulltaker battled Sigmar for 3 days straight in the world that was. And even though he didn't win, that is a feat amongst itself. Though it did take him centuries to recover from his injuries. He takes particular enjoyment on exacting vengeance on Sigmar's warriors. So then we get to the Bloodletters, the sort of bottom rung of demons in Khorne's army. Whether through explosions of Khorne's fury or brutal design, the shards of Khorne's wrathful essence congeal and are given form. These fragments become the bloodletters. Whether through explosions of fury or brutal design, shards of Khorne's wrathful essence congeal and are given form. These fragments become the bloodletters, the lithe and muscular warriors of the blood god's host. They are the most numerous of Khorne's demons, and while a single bloodletter is deadly, a whole pack is truly terrifying. Indeed, when gathered in significant number, the bloodletter's fury is aroused, further increasing their martial skill. Drawn to battles like scavengers to carrion, they charge towards their enemies with savage ferocity, long tongues flicking in anticipation of the taste of blood. All right, so the bloodletters are the sort of bottom rung demon. They are split into packs, and each is led by what is known as a blood reaper. The blood reaper has shown the most martial prowess of the group of bloodletters. They are either the most kills or the most brutality. However, any bloodletter from the pack can rise to the rank of blood reaper simply by outdoing the leader. So if your KDA is better than the leader, guess what? You're leader now. They often take the battlefield beside their mortal allies. When they take the field with mortals, they also serve the purpose of being the blood god's eyes. So if you're a mortal and there are bloodletters around, make sure you are not showing any cowardice, because they will kill you as quickly as they will kill the opponents. The bloodletter weapon known as Hellblades. These blades hunger for slaughter and are so sharp that they can sever even an ogre neck in a single swing without slowing. These blades are created from legend. Nobody knows how they are created. Some say they're formed from the wielder's essence, or perhaps that of another angry demon. However, once one takes up Hellblade, it can never be discarded. So that is the bloodletters. And now I want to quickly go over, going to rapid fire the rest of the demons here. So we have the blood crushers. These are the shock cavalry. They are the union of a bloodletter and a juggernaut. Juggernauts are massive beasts that only respond to strength. If a bloodletter has shown particular zeal on the battlefield, they will be led deep within to which they will be basically leashed into the fields of which the juggernauts are roaming. In order for a bloodletter to master a juggernaut, they simply need to show its strength and conquer it. Many try to grab onto the back and are flung off and stamped under hoof, but those who do will form a bond. Those who do manage to break their beast will form a bond with it that is unbreakable. However, juggernauts can never truly be broken. They will always have a will of their own. They're not so much led into battle as they are pointed in a direction and then they go. The bloodletter merely hacking at whatever foes happen to be in the right place at the right time. There is a series of technological things known as the demon engines. They are sort of a combination of industry, weapons, and armor. They are sentient and fueled by hate. The two listed ones are known as skull cannons. They are nightmarish trebuchets that flame cannons to the opponent, and when they hit, the opponents are liquefied, leaving nothing but the skulls, which are then led back into the skull cannon and fired again. Blood thrones are specific demon engines that are gifted to the favorite of Khorne. They are made from a sliver of Khorne's own throne, and they're basically like a chariot like a chariot. Kind of looks like a motorcycle that is just led into battle. The herald that rides upon it is known as a rendmaster. Next up, we have the flesh hounds. You've seen a lot of them. They are Khorne's blood hunters, sent to track those who draw his wrath. Again, if you piss off Khorne, he sends dogs after you, his good boys. A pack of flesh hounds is championed by a larger, stronger beast known as a gorehound, and these gorehounds can literally cause their opponents to burst into flames when they shout. So that's impressive. And there is one more important named character we're going to talk about right now, and that is Karanak. He is the alpha of all of the flesh hounds and is Khorne's personal good boy. He is the literal manifestation of the blood god's vengeance. So we have, at this point, if you piss off God, was it the Reaper's Legion, the third rank of bloodthirsters, flesh hounds, and Karanak. And Karanak is the scariest of all of them, bar none. When he's not hunting, he simply lays at the foot of the skull throne, and he gets to gnaw on all of the skulls that are not good enough to go on the pile. If you piss off Khorne enough, he will send Karanak after you. This alpha flesh hound has 3 heads, and each head can track you in a different way. There is no escaping once he has your scent. The first head can track you anywhere through space. It does not matter upon which realm you sit, the first head will find you. The second head tracks you through time. It knows where you've been and where you will go. And the third head, perhaps the most terrifying, tracks you in your own mind. There is no thought you can have to avoid Karanak. And once he has your scent, he will hunt you down through all of the 8 realms until your body is laid broken and dead at the feet of the blood god himself.
Huh.
Oh yeah, he's a fucking good boy. And that is all of the listed demons in the codex, or not, maybe not the listed demons, but the listed lore for the demons we have available for us. So Khorne's legions are pretty scary.
Mm-hmm. Well, demons are fucking terrifying. But the one thing that's more terrifying, I personally think, are the mortals because they have to give themselves into Khorne. And to that, we turn to Bryce. Bryce, take it away.
All right. Yeah, so I will be covering the Warhordes of Khorne, or better known as the Mortals of Khorne. Like the Blood Legions, the bloodbound followers of Khorne conform to a brutal yet militant organizational structure that is based around the most powerful of their savage kind rising to command. These armies are fierce, unrelenting, and eager for slaughter, and the realms tremble before their onslaught. And when it comes to the worshippers of Khorne, like Carlin said, they give themselves up. One major aspect about the mortals of Khorne and their mass legions of warriors is none of these guys are together for each other or anything like that. They're all there just to try and please the blood god. Maybe survival at first, but what keeps them there is definitely their kind of constantly giving themselves up to the blood god to try and be stronger and better at what they do. And in these legions, no one is stronger or better than what they do than the lords of Khorne that command the entire bloodbound warhordes at their disposal. We've been introduced to one of these characters already in the Realmgate Wars as Korgus Kull. He's kind of like the badass of all Lord of Khornes at the moment. But these guys, usually heavily armored in Hellforged plate and carry grim banners, and just they're all forces of Khorne, basically, at least mortal wise, will march under these guys. The reason why they're able to kind of control all these bloodthirsty mortals is the fact that they can wield savagery and hatred like none other. It's described in the book as they wield them like a butcher's cleaver, expertly carving through an enemy army. Although it does also mention that even though that these lords of Khorne may be mighty, even some of the most powerful lords can't even hold their war bands together for more than a few campaigns before they like fall apart and kind of feast on themselves or get broken up underneath other lords of Khorne and stuff like that. So there's this constant kind of food chain of mortals going through from the lowest to the highest, and then when they fall, another person might ascend from the lowest to the highest. Mm-hmm. Depending on just how much they want to give to Khorne. When it comes to how these legions are kind of structured, it's kind of like the demon legions that Greg was talking about. When it comes to the mortals, however, it's usually the Lord of Khorne and his Gore Chosen. Gore Chosen will be his 8 mightiest and most feared champions. And kind of each of these champions is like a very notorious or famed warrior killer, however you want to put it. And they serve as the Lord of Khorne's personal guard, but also his closest and most powerful rivals most of the time as well. You very rarely see a Gore Chosen not have somebody in it not wanting to kill the Lord of Khorne. Yes, I know I used a double negative there. What I'm trying to say is every door chosen has at least one person that wants to kill the dude that's at the top so that they can be the guy at the top.
That's how you do it. You just kill the guy at the top, then you're in charge. If there's somebody below him, you gotta kill that guy too.
So underneath the door chosen, you have even more kind of breakdowns in how they're run. So these are broken down even further, and they usually have their own kind of, they're usually named after their leader or something that kind of, gives credence to what they do. A couple references here are the Skull Hunters, Kalzak's Red Blades. So I think it's kind of easy to assume what the Skull Hunters do. And I'm going to assume that Kalzak's dudes have red blades, or they're just bloody blades all the time. The Battletome gets into a little bit of details on how some of these war bands are kind of formed unit-wise. So there's a mention of the Blood Mad Warband, which is a formation led by an aspiring Deathbringer. And he's followed by Blood Warriors and Skull Reapers, and they're all kind of bolstered all together by a Blood Secretor. The purpose of these guys is basically to get into like the thick of the battle and just basically get as much blood flowing as they possibly can. And the Blood Secretor is actually able to open up tears into the realm of Khorne through the amount of blood that they're sharing, or not sharing, spilling. Another formation that they mentioned are the Gore Pilgrims. These are zealots composed mostly of blood warriors, blood reavers, and they all congregate under Blood Secretors again, and this time also slaughter priests. These guys are known for basically using the flow of battle and everything like that to counteract like enemy wizards and stuff like that, because like we were saying earlier, Khorne fucking hates wizard and magic casters. But if you pray hard enough and it does something, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's prayer. It's not magic.
Exactly.
The final one that they add here are called the Bloodforged, which are we have the Blood Warriors of the Bloodforged that are led by demonically warped Skull Grinders and Wrathmongers, who are essentially just these berserker brutes that wade into combat with these giant wrath flails and just basically grind their enemies under their feet. And then you have the Skull Take Warbands, who are appropriately named for their ability to take skulls, which are usually composed of Skull Reapers and Korgoraths. Again, a newer model added into AOS. And then finally, the last one that they mention in the Battletome doesn't give very much specifics to it, other than it's told the Dark Feast Warband, who engage in gruesome acts of cannibalism to boost their own powers.
So are you saying that if I were to take a bite out of Greg's face, I would get more power?
Nah, definitely not my face. That would definitely be a nerf, honestly.
I mean, I would also say it'd probably end up with the police on location very quickly as well.
Don't worry, officers. I was doing it for power.
If you're a Khorne follower, just eat the police officers.
So the next little bit in the Battletome is the Chosen of Khorne. The Bloodbound are the scourge of civilization, the very sight of an assembled war horde, enough to send I don't know how to say that word. I'm just going to skip that part. I don't need that shit. So the next little bit is about the Chosen of Khorne. This part kind of focuses on like the two main war hordes out there, and then has a couple references to another smaller ones. The main two things that Bloodbound warhordes kind of have in common is the fact that they have a very powerful commander who can hold them all kind of in check, and the warriors all have a penchant for bloodletting on a scale that keeps them kind of higher in Khorne's favor. If they're losing, or if they're kind of picking like shitty fights, Khorne's not going to like them as much. the first kind of warhorde that they mention here is the Murder Fist tribe, which are known for tearing out the hearts of their foes. And when these warriors, kind of like one of the defining features of these warriors is the fact that their hands are either bare or protected by a black plate, kind of typical to their people. Wait, what? Sorry, that doesn't make any sense. For example, are known for tearing the hearts of their foes. Each warrior's hands, whether bare or protected by the black plate armor typical of their people, are bright red. How's it black plate armor if it's bright red?
It's black plated, covered in blood. Plates are black, armor red because of blood.
I don't know if it's because of the blood.
Could be because of the blood.
Always because of the blood.
All right. Okay. Yeah, so this is difficult to tell if they're ritual tattoos or whatnot, because usually they're drenched in gore and viscera. But after they mention the murder fists, as they're called, the Battletome makes a mention to the two kind of warhords standing above all others, the Gortide and the Skullfiend tribe. So the Gortide, we've already had a good bit of an introduction to with the Realm Gate Wars and stuff like that, us covering Akshi. So I'll be really short. As we know, the Gortide is a absolutely massive warhorde. I believe it is actually considered to be the biggest one, and it's described not as an army of Khorne followers, but as like just an actual nation of Khorne followers, murderers, however you want to put it. Like, that's just how much that they've literally gone to the scale of a nation. Like you said, they're led by Torgus Kull, and these guys are mostly focused in Akshi. They date back to during the Age of Myth, and have been going pretty strong with a few setbacks for Kull since the Age of Sigmar has started. But he's still around. He's still chopping heads off, still doing stuff for Khorne.
Still saying Edis or Edis?
Yes,
Yeah.
Still saying that. So the second of these two great tribes is the Skullfiend tribe. They're led by Lord Stardrax the Slayer. He's a juggernaut-mounted monster, as the Battletome describes, and they believe that the only way to truly honor the Blood God is by taking the heads of every foe that they meet. The Skull Reapers of this tribe have refined decapitation into what is described as a savage art form, and their armies are almost always accompanied by packs of Korgoraths that basically just follow behind, or that basically once they're done with battle, they follow behind and consume all the skulls that their tribe mates have, taken from the shoulders of their enemies. But the Skulls of Champions, or just like super fierce monsters, are absolutely prized by this tribe and are seen as like the most impressive tributes, the greatest things that they could offer up to Khorne.
Mm-hmm.
This tribe, believe it or not, originated in the realm of Gur, and they can basically now be found wherever their slaughter path takes them. They're basically just out there looking for heads to chop off. The bigger the better, so they're just roaming around. Recently, though, apparently they've been pulled into Shyish to help deal with Nagash. So I guess they're going to still be happy because they can still take skulls. They're just a lot less blood, like we were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
Well, as long as the skulls don't like fall apart to ash.
Or, get up again.
Yeah. I mean, if you just get them all in a pile real quick, and then the bodies won't be able to figure out which heads are which.
I don't really care. They'll just grab a head.
Mm-hmm. So after talking about, the couple tribes and warhordes that are under Khorne, we did a little bit about the Lords of Khorne. I talked about them a little bit earlier as well. Like I said, they're like the most badass of warriors that Khorne has underneath them. They're capable of holding together these massive armies of psychotic murderers. They're literally there to do nothing but spill blood, kill, and eat flesh. So it really does say something about just how powerful these lords are. I've spoken already about Torghast, so I won't get more into him, but the other kind of major Lord of Khorne that gets mentioned in the Battletome is one called Valkia the Bloody. She goes by many different names, actually. In Akshi, she's known as the Gore Queen. In Haish, known as Lady Wrath, and by the devoted of Sigmar, the Red Angel of Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the legend behind her was that she was once a mortal warrior. She was a tribal chief that was so dedicated to the blood god that her own barbarism was so much while, giving her while being dedicated to Khorne, that her tribe that had fought underneath her tried to betray her, and basically the entire tribe tried to claim her head for Khorne. The book describes with the explosive anger of a bloodthirster, she impaled hundreds of her own tribe before she was finally the book describes that she fought with the explosive anger of a bloodthirster, impaling hundreds on her barbed spear Slopnir. I don't know if that's the proper way to say it, but that's an interesting name. Before she was finally cut down by her fellow tribe mates. The thing was Khorne was so impressed by the fact that she butchered that many people before succumbing to them, that he basically just was like, here you go, I'm bringing you back to life. And in doing so, she was reborn as a winged demon queen. So basically, after she was reborn, she immediately went back and butchered the remainder of her original tribe and kind of carved out her own kingdom in Khorne's domain in a location called Mount Ashenfell. Basically, she just kind of chills here, and whenever she wants to, she just draws together her demonic legions and mortal hordes and heads out to basically make battle with whoever she feels like. So after that little bit about Valkia, I will move on forward a bit more with a breakdown of kind of the Gore Chosen, or the so-called lieutenants underneath a Lord of Khorne in his actual warhorde. At the top of the Gore Chosen, you'll have the Exalted Deathbringer, who basically doesn't, when it comes to battle, he'll be more dedicated to killing his enemies, but if he notices that any warrior around him is not fighting to his liking, he has absolutely no problem taking that man's head off, just to ensure that everybody else starts fighting a lot more harder and to his liking. These guys have they've proven themselves that they've proven themselves that they're worthy of the title Exalted Deathbringer. And in doing so, they're pretty much always awarded with a weapon or something like that from the Blood God's armory. These Exalted Deathbringers are often known as being the Lord of Khorne's kind of right hand, but also known as being their deadliest rival. Like I said, these guys have proven themselves to Khorne, and basically the only reason why they aren't Lords of Khorne in their own right is probably because they just haven't killed the guy above them just yet. After them, we have the Bloodstokers, maybe not in kind of in the hierarchy, but just kind of how the book goes through. I like to consider these guys kind of like the biggest bullies in the army. They're not so much there to fight the enemies as they are to insult and infuriate and stoke the anger of their own guys, so that they'll get into the fight and just basically vent all that fury and anger on their enemies instead of the Bloodstoker. Because the average guy, yeah, he's getting whipped in the back. He might be angry at the Bloodstoker for it, but he also knows that if he tries to do anything to the Bloodstoker, he's probably going to get his head torn off with a whip in 3 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't go well for him.
Mm-hmm. The one thing that I do like that the book mentions about these guys are they technically do harvest the most skulls out of any other champion of Khorne, based on the fact that their weapons are considered the might of the warhorde and not their actual physical weapons. Yeah, so next is the slaughter priests. These are basically warrior preachers who are so swollen with the powers of Khorne that they're able to not only manifest that in martial strength, but they can also use it to actually control the blood coursing through both enemies and allies alike in the battlefield. This is represented by kind of their songs of ancient battles and bloodlust and just whatever they would sing about to make Khorne happy. This buffs their own warriors and drives them to kind of new heights of bloodlust and savagery. But at the same time, he can also use this power to manipulate the blood of his enemies. And, he can literally boil the blood inside of his enemies, just causing like their eyes to burst in fountains of blood and stuff like that.
That would be so painful.
Oh, yeah. These slaughter priests are known for gaining a lot of this power by just consuming the blood and meat of their enemies that have fallen before them. These priests, though, you won't find them, like back buffing their guys. They are usually on the front lines with the rest of the warriors, reaping their own toll while still, doing what they do best. After them, we have the Skull Grinders, who are kind of more known as the weaponsmiths of Khorne's armies. The little bit of lore that the book explains about them were basically during the Age of Chaos, Khorne went and gifted a bunch of bronze anvils to several different tribes and stuff like that throughout the realms. And basically, these anvils were used as altars to sacrifice captives on, to make their weapons, all sorts of stuff. Then basically one day, a singular warrior would walk into these kind of encampments that had been gifted these anvils and butchered everyone and anyone that got in their way from them making them to these anvils. And basically, when they got to them, they took these chains that they had wrapped around these arms and bound them to these anvils. As they, I forgot to mention that as they got closer to these anvils, they started glowing like they were basically being heated at the heart of a furnace. And so when they combined with these, they would then combine with these chains. And that was basically the start to these skull grinders, or the start of the lore of these skull grinders, who are essentially these dudes that just wait in the battle with massive molten anvils on the ends of chains, and they just crush their enemies in massive sweeps of these things. Following them in the book are the aspiring Deathbringers. So these guys are basically like the lower level versions of the exalted Deathbringers. There's not too much that separate these guys other than experience. The aspiring Deathbringers will be some of the most bloodthirsty warriors in the army that you will find, but that is just because these guys are trying to prove themselves to be that much better than everybody else. They may, most likely, it's just they haven't been around as long as the others, and they need to catch up. They need to do whatever they can to get the exalted Deathbringer status, even if it means taking out the previous exalted Deathbringer and the Gore Chosen. Finally, for the description of Gore Chosen members is the Bloodsecrator. So blood secretors are basically these warriors that bear these huge skull-wreathed icons of the blood god in the battle. These guys aren't exactly there as much to kill as they are to be a lodestone for coronate energy in the fight. So basically, what they do is they get to the thickest part of the fight and they just plant their standard in the ground and absorb as much, energy as they can from the battle. And they will literally open up a portal to the blood god's realm in the middle of the battlefield. And this will basically drive their bloodbound warriors crazy, will also bringing in, bloodletters and demons, stuff like that, and also just fizzling out the enemy's magics because of how strongly the realm of blood negates magic.
Yeah, we saw that happen in the first Realm Gate Wars book.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I do kind of really like about the blood secretors is the fact, though, that they do not give a single shit about internal power struggles in the Gore Chosen. So where you have like the aspiring Deathbringers and like slaughter priests and stuff like that vying for more strength in it, they're just happy to be there and chilling. They just want to go to battle, plant their staff, and be like, "Hey, Khorne, look at me! I opened up a portal for you." So I really like that. They're kind of like the chill, laid back dude bros of the Gore Chosen.
Dude, bro. Yeah, no, they're sounding really awesome in general. Like the whole Mortal line, whether it's Khorne, Nurgle, whatever. I always find Immortals so engaging. So, and that continues of Khorne.
With that, I believe that brings us to the end of the mentions of mortal warriors in the Battletome.
Nice. I love just talking about like the different followers of Khorne and kind of what their intentions, what their reasons are for it.
It's important to note, if you can't aspire to be a demon, you can still stab for Khorne. He's totally cool with it.
Just start stabbing your friends in the face. More overkill, the better.
Khorne's totally on board.
Yup.
But yeah, no, that wraps us up with the Battletome. So all I got to say is, or ask, what have you guys been hobbying lately? Greg, how about you go first?
All right, I'll start. So let's see. I didn't get a chance to do a lot of Warhammer this week. I think I showed some pictures on the Facebook of the kit bashed Khorne Berserkers that I managed to get done. I did a bunch of D&D mini painting this week. And update on the Crisis suits. They're as unpainted as they were in the last video, just so people know. I do have a funny story. It's going to sound a little unrelated, but trust me, it does pay out. So me and Bryce has been getting me into Destiny 2. And obviously, like the highest ranked equipment you can get is called exotics. And I got an exotic vehicle. And guess what the first exotic vehicle I got was? The fucking Ratmobile. It's got rats all over it. And I'm like, of course. I would get this.
Of course.
Yeah, I was like, basically, I was just sitting there. He's like, I got the other side. And I was like, what? And he's like, it's got rats on it. I was like, how do you get the one with the rats on it before anything else?
Yeah.
Anything else?
It's pretty fucking great.
That's awesome. Bryce, what have you been hobbying lately?
Yeah. Well, like I think I mentioned it at the start of the podcast, but I picked up some Space Marines earlier, so I've been putting them together and getting some primer on them to start painting them up. But I've also got a little bit more painting on my Stormcast in, not too much, but I managed to slap a little bit more paint on some models, so I'm feeling good about that.
Nice. It's awesome. As for me, I haven't really done no, I've done a lot of little things. Like I've been working a whole bunch of models at once. Been working in Gaz's base. Need to paint the shotgun bullet shells on his base. And yeah, I've been also planning out in my head kind of like a Stormcast warband for Warcry. So that's been kind of fun.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thinking about making my own chamber. The Lupus Chamber or Chamber of the Wolf.
So they're going to be a bunch of furries.
No. They're gonna have wolf
Okay.
pauldrons, and instead of having the chicken bird dog things, I'll just use the actual wolves from Space Wolves.
Oh God, I guess I gotta out myself because I was trying to keep it a secret till they're done, but I was also making a war cry of fucking Stormcast myself.
I see how it is. I see how it is. We start reading the Realm Gate Wars, and everybody wants to start playing Stormcast.
I'll send some pictures. I picked up a really good price. I picked up a bunch of the guys with the hammer and castigators just because I like them, and I've been painting them red and black.
Nice.
Well,
I'll send
for
some
me,
pictures to you after so you can take a look, and we'll post them on the Facebook at some point.
yeah, and like for me, this is not a promotion by any stretch, but from my favorite bit seller, Spellcrow, they always give a whole bunch of free bits, and last time I ordered from them, they included this wolf pauldron. And first thing I thought of was like, oh, that would look really cool on a Stormcast hero, and that got my imagination going. And then got the order Battletome for Warcry, and I was taking a look. I'm like, you know what, that would be kind of fun. Just a small warband of them with all these wolfy pauldrons and these cool heads rather than all being helmeted. Because unlike Bryce, I like my things without helmets. And yeah,
I mean, if you want to be a masochist and paint faces, go ahead. I'm just like, if I can use one color and a wash to paint my face, I'll do it.
yeah, I have no problem painting faces, so not an issue. But I guess I am a masochist. But yeah, otherwise haven't done too much. Just yay, life as a student.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a lot of schoolwork.
But I've been revamping my hobby area. I've got I moved everything in droppers. Now I have a wall hung unit that I can put all my dropper paints into. I've got like a little storage bin that I can put all my paint brushes and everything in. Or not bin, but kind of a little cool wood thing. Yeah, just kind of revamping the hobby area to make my hobby life easier in the long run. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's basically me. Yeah. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
No, I think I'm good.
We
Um,
haven't done. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it may not be AOS, but I was just kind of scrolling while we were doing our outro here. And I saw an ad for the new Necromunda game that's coming out, Hired Gun. If you haven't seen the trailer for that, check it out because it actually looks like a pretty decent game that's going to be coming out soon.
Fingers crossed. Okay. Well, hey, it's been great chatting with you guys. It's been fun to chat Khorne. And I know I've shared it with you guys, but I kind of feel like sharing it again. Khorne has freaked out my boss. I've discovered he listens to my podcast by when I walked in the office, he flipped around on his chair and looked at me. He's like, Khorne is the freakiest deity I've ever heard of. Based on our first Realmgate episode.
I'm sure this hasn't made his opinion any better.
No, when it listens to this, yeah.
Wait until we get to Slanesh. We might have to age restrict that
yes.
episode.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. And I'm excited for when we cover some future stuff like Spite, because I love the horror stuff, but I know Bryce, that might get to you a bit.
It's fine. Sure, they beat Stormcast up a little bit, but it's fine.
Oh, Gloomspite, there is no Stormcast.
Oh?
Nope.
Okay.
So you get to see what happens to the poor innocent people of the realms.
I mean, it can't be worse than what's happening on, over on that corner compared to that corner.
It gets pretty gnarly.
I'm sure. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard good things about that book.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to Realm Walkers. Please follow us on Facebook. That's where we're trying to, chat with you about hobby and lore stuff. We want to see your awesome painted models and the different things you're working on. Also, try to reach out to us via email or through our messenger service through our Facebook account. We want to be able to hear feedback, know where we're doing well, what we need to work on. Yeah, just we want to be able to engage you because we want to get better and better. And the only way we can do that is by going with you. Mm-hmm. Also, I want to give a special shout out to Ireland. I did this on our Facebook account already, but Ireland has been consistently one of the countries with the highest downloads for us, next to Canada and the States. Sometimes it's the most, sometimes second place. Ireland, I don't know what we're doing to impress you, but thank you. We love you. We love to know who you are. Please comment and such. I have a little post on Facebook. Just comment there.
What are our numbers? What are our numbers from Sweden still? Is it still that one guy?
Sweden, yeah, I believe we still have just 3 downloads there last I looked.
Shout out to our Sweden followers.
Yeah, he's our #1 Swedish fan.
It's true. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for everything. And we hope to hear you or hope to enjoy chatting with you next time when we actually get into the second book of the Rungate Wars.
Yes.
All right.
Talk
Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Have a good one.